Hey guys, so what's going on? Welcome back to Prospect Central 101. My name is Chris, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys a little bit about the Detroit Lions and what we're going to be doing moving forward. So, we recently announced the hirings of our new general manager and head coach in Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. So, these are going to be the two guys who lead our team going forward. Of course, I'm a Lions fan. That's kind of my background here. So uh, this is the team that I've been most watching and most interested in, and I've been following for a good portion of my time watching football. Not necessarily the entire time because I didn't really get into NFL until after I got into college. I actually started watching college back in 2005-ish. Uh, so it took me a couple years after that to get into the NFL side of things. Long personal story. I may or may not end up getting into that in the future, but I didn't really end up getting into professional football in NFL until 2008 when the Lions went 0-16. So, but they're my hometown team. I'm from Michigan. I live not too far outside of Detroit, so uh, this is the team I've been following basically my whole entire time watching pro football, I guess is the best way to put this. And it's very interesting to kind of see the different evolutions and processes and phases and things that we've been able to go through, and what's to come looking ahead. So I just wanted to touch on our new leaders of the franchise and also what it means for our channel going forward in Prospect Central 101 and the type of things that we're going to be doing here on the channel. So, of course, we're still going to be talking about the Lions stuff and potential draft targets and things like that. Of course, it does mean the dissolution of the QIB series, but just one huge big shout out to Eric Schlitt for putting all that stuff together for us, and everybody else for USA Today, Lions Wire. Definitely still recommend going and checking out his stuff and all the things that he's going to be doing moving forward. Jeff Risting is, I would consider him a friend of mine, and he's been fantastic to talk to and work with. He's one of the editors at USA Today as well. So definitely highly recommend checking out his stuff. Of course, he also works with the LP, the Straight Lines podcast, which is a site that I write my written content for now. Uh, so he's a great friend of that, and he also comes on the show to talk to Chris and Case, who I also would consider good friends of mine at this point as well over the last year and a half or 2 years. Uh, so definitely check out everything that he does along with Eric and Chris and Case at DLP. Of course, segueing into that, I am putting out an article this morning. At the time I'm recording this, I should be able to post this today. Actually, I'm hoping to post this immediately, but talking about what this means for the Lions and our future with the team. So we're gonna start there, and I think that this is very interesting because what we're really going to be able to see here is with Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia. I was a fan of theirs, specifically Quinn, a little bit more so than Matt Patricia. But I think what they brought was a system that we had not run before. And they were really the first hires, and specifically the general manager spot with Bob Quinn, that had come from outside the org. And Mayhew took over for Millen, and Millen took over for the people before him, and so on and so on and so on. Going way back to, I think it was the 40s or 30s. So Bob Quinn really brought in an outside system, an outside philosophy that he had learned from another team. And like even the people that were from outside the org, like Millen, for example, who was not a direct promotion from internal, uh, but wasn't technically an outside hire, uh, didn't really have the experience in a front office. So he wasn't necessarily bringing in an outside system in the same way that Bob Quinn did, bringing in the New England system to Detroit. So I think what's interesting is that this is only going to be the second time, again behind Bob Quinn, where we're really bringing in a new system, a new way of doing things in the front office. And I'm very excited about the potential that this has to work. And I guess one thing that's really exciting to me is the other team that I've been following very closely over the last few years is the Baltimore Ravens. And Ozzie Newsome has been fantastic as an NFL GM. He's really someone that a lot of people like me can really idolize. And I may not be African American, or I may not be from Baltimore. I may not even necessarily have the Ravens as my favorite team. But just that background of someone who is that respected in that type of position, and that successful in that type of position, I think is someone that everyone from all walks of life, from every location, from any team, any fan, can really respect uh, and really point to as someone that is either inspiring or a leader or a mentor in some way to them and what they hope to become. And I think we're really kind of seeing the Baltimore system, uh, the beginnings of it kind of play itself out in Detroit, I think. And Brad Holmes, of course, I was obviously talked about how he idolizes Ozzie Newsome, and there's a lot more reasons for that than I can get into for me, because he is, of course, a minority, and has all that kind of thing going towards that as well. Someone he idolizes from that personal standpoint, a little bit more so than I can personally relate to, not having those same challenges and privileges. But I feel like the process of being traditionalist and forward thinking and innovative and striking that balance is something that Holmes is going to bring to Detroit, that Ozzie Newsome, along with Eric DeCosta now, of course, has really brought to Baltimore. And I talk about this in an article that I'm going to be posting on DLP, DetroitLionsPodcast.com. And in that, what makes Baltimore special is their ability to balance a lot of different approaches, philosophies, beliefs, and ideas. And that Ozzie Newsome comes from his experience in scouting, working with the Cleveland Browns. He worked as a part of the Bill Belichick system. He evaluated players for Bill Belichick, who was the head coach. Excuse me, head coach at the time of when he was there in Cleveland, from 91 to 95. And so his background is kind of scouting for that system. And then eventually, he ended up scouting for the Brian Billick system, who he kept on as head coach his initial years in Baltimore. And then Ozzie Newsome, when Billick left, it was time for him to find his first own head coach as general manager. He ended up finding John Harbaugh. And John Harbaugh was an Andy Reid tree special teams coach. And Andy Reid, while the Reid tree and Belichick tree obviously have their own overlaps, because every good system is overlaps in some way. That's why they're a good system. They're not exactly the same. And so, what Baltimore was able to do was mesh some of those Belichickian, not Belichick, but Belichickian systems, philosophies, ideas, and principles into a mix of the Harbaugh, Andy Reid-ish style of philosophies and beliefs and ideals. And while Harbaugh is not Andy Reid, and Ozzie Newsome is not Bill Belichick, that's also part of the reason why they were able to work out. is they brought some of those ideas and philosophies and beliefs to the table. And that was their background. That was where they came from. And that was the exposure and previous experience that they had, was working within those systems. And I feel like we're kind of starting to see some of the same things. Now, there's obviously some very big differences in terms of the systems that we're pulling from. But what we're seeing is that Brad Holmes is pulling some from the Sean McVay, and to a much lesser extent, Brandon Staley and Wade Phillips. But Sean McVay, among others, of course, he served there for 5 head coaches and 4 GMs. But he's very familiar with that Sean McVay style of process and the types of players and systems and things that they're looking for in LA under Sean McVay. And with Dan Campbell, he is very much comes from the background of the New Orleans Saints, and that is the Sean Payton style of philosophy, which is very different than the Sean McVay philosophy and belief system. Payton comes from along with, of course, Dan Campbell directly, comes from the Bill Parcells style of football, which is a little bit more similar to the Belichickian type of system. Belichick, of course, served under Parcells himself, and Sean Payton, of course, would end up serving under Parcells, and Dan Campbell played for Parcells, so there's a little bit of a connection there. Whereas McVay, of course, is not a Parcells tree. It's more of Mike Shanahan, Mike LaFleur, Matt LaFleur, Kyle Shanahan, all those types of guys. And so there's a little bit of a divergence, and he's almost in a way more similar to Andy Reid. Now, obviously, he doesn't have the Andy Reid connection, but just in terms of style and beliefs and philosophies and ideals, I would say McVay is probably closer to Andy Reid than Bill Belichick. And of course, again, all these systems have some overlap. They're all good systems, and they're all good systems because of their beliefs and their philosophies and ideals, and naturally there's overlap there. But what we're seeing is, going back to the Baltimore approach, they were able to mesh the different approaches together. They were able to combine some of the philosophies that Belichick and their system had with Ozzie Newsome, along with the experiences and exposure that Ozzie Newsome had to different player experiences as a player when he played for the Browns, as well as the previous experiences and exposures that John Harbaugh had with the Eagles under Andy Reid, as well as the previous experiences and exposures that John Harbaugh had with Jim and their family. So they both had a multitude of different experiences and backgrounds, but at the same time, they're both willing to compromise, learn, and continue to grow and expand their knowledge base and evolve with each other. And that really is what has created the Baltimore Way. And now, when we think of the Baltimore Ravens, okay, for those who are familiar with them in 2019 or 2020, okay, it's Lamar Jackson, right? It's this mobile quarterback, this new style of football. And in a way, yeah, there's some truth to them being the new way, the modern football. But it goes a lot deeper than that. And really what it is it's a forward-thinking, evolved, innovative approach. And it goes back to their use of analytics. It goes back to their scouting approach. It goes back to their collaborative team effort, their communication, their ability to work together to do what's best for the team, and put aside where they may have come from, or what their background is, or the way they did things before, and work together with each other to do what's best for the team that they're on now. And I think that we're going to see that in Detroit. I think that Detroit is next, with Brad Holmes, who is not necessarily going to take the same things he learned in LA, and Dan Campbell, who is not necessarily going to take the same things he learned in New Orleans, and of course Miami and the teams he played for, and Holmes and all the different GMs and stuff he worked under, uh, and really build something that is them, that is what they want, that is what they believe together, and mesh all these different approaches that they've learned and gathered under during their time in the league, and really work together to build what is best for the Lions. And I think that that's really what excites me the most, is their ability to put aside what is best for them individually and build the best collaborative team and find the best people around them and surround themselves with the best scouts and the best assistants and the best coordinators. And even the people that we're talking about hiring as our coordinators. I saw that we interviewed James Urban. I saw that we're talking about hiring Aaron Glenn as our defensive coordinator. Uh, these are guys that are great at what they do. And the ability to build a great staff is going to be critical to this team, both in the front office and at the coaching level. But if we're able to do that and surround these guys who are really working together uh, to build the best team around them, uh, then the Lions will become one of the best teams. And I think that that's what's the most exciting part about this, is we've seen this type of thing work before in Baltimore. And yes, there's obviously very big differences. Brad Holmes is not, Ozzie Newsome is not a Hall of Fame player. He's not coming in with that background of working under Belichick, and uh, Dan Campbell is not someone who has the experience of working on special teams and coordinating a unit in the same way that Harbaugh did. He doesn't have the family pedigree that the Harbaughs do in coaching. So there's a few differences there, but just the approach and their ability to mesh their philosophies with each other and work together to create their own path forward, while at the same time being willing to evolve and grow and, most importantly, innovate, to be cutting edge and forward thinking as we move into the 2020s and beyond, hopefully, into a new era of football. And I think that that's really going to be what separates this team going forward. As we've seen the Baltimore Ravens and how they've had success innovating, creating, being aggressive with their team. And Andy Reid showcased this just this past weekend, what it means to be aggressive on the football field. This star quarterback, the number one quarterback in the league, Patrick Mahomes, got injured in the third quarter. And Andy Reid did not let up, and he just continued to trust his backup quarterback in Chad Henne, who's a 35-year-old quarterback who's never really been a well-known starter from Michigan. Well, I should say since his time in Michigan, uh, back in 2005, 2006, around the time I started first watching college football, ironically, uh, back in the days of Mike Hart, who is now Michigan running backs coach, go figure. Uh, but just and then that fourth down play, calling a passing play on fourth down to seal the game, that's aggressive. That's forward thinking. That's in a lot of ways that's innovative. And we saw Baltimore do a lot of the same things last year. And Tennessee did a lot of the same things with Mike Vrabel. Uh, and their way of doing things and approach and challenging uh, the past standards of football. And if Detroit can do that, Detroit can move the needle and challenge the past standards of football and move away from the outdated way of doing things. And this approach to modernization, to moving things towards 2022 and 2021, and 2023 and 2022, and 2024 and 2023. Staying one step ahead, and that's what's really going to serve us well. and being adaptable and flexible within ourselves, but not being afraid of what's ahead, and being able to challenge ourselves to collaborate, to listen, to work together, to communicate, to grow, uh, and really being willing and adaptable and flexible to new information that comes out and evolves. And as we continue to learn more about the game of football and the potential that there is to maximize ourselves as coaches, as scouts, as evaluators, as players, uh, being able to provide and update that information uh, technologically, analytically, traditionally, uh, and being able to maximize our talent uh, and to benefit the entire group of people that work from the top down, from the GM to the scouting intern, from the head coach to quality control assistant, across the entire board, across the entire organization. That unified vision of collaboration and teamwork and being adaptable and flexible and willing to learn and grow and anticipate new information is something that will really ultimately serve this team for the best. And that's how everyone should live their lives, really, is being adaptable and flexible to learn and grow and continue to find out more about what they do and what they enjoy and what they love. And ultimately, that'll make them better at what they do. And this isn't a team that's going to be at their best in year one. This is, Brad Holmes said, yeah, we're going to like to compete. And we're going to try and put the best team that we can on the field in year one in 2021. This is going to be a team that thrives when we figure everything out. And there's going to be a process. And it's not going to be a 1 year process. It may be a 3 year process. It may be a 5 year process. But it's going to, if we give them the time to figure things out and build what they want, and they do things the right way and they stick to the process, and they do things uh, in the way that they should, and listen and collaborate and work together and mesh everything from the forward thinking analytics to the traditionalism to the motivation to the collaboration, and we work together to build what is best for the team. This is going to be a team that goes places soon, and we're not too far off from that. And we have to hit. We have to get a little bit lucky. We have to do the things that are going to be tough. Uh, it's going to be a couple difficult years ahead, whether it be moving on from Stafford, whether it be building around Stafford, despite what other people might want. There's going to be a lot of debate. There's going to be a lot of discussion. There's going to be a lot of differences in opinion and different disagreements in how you build this team, both inside the building and out, both on social media and in person and in group chats across the country and just casual conversations and in hardcore fan bases and in podcasts and and across the league. There's going to be differences in how the Lions approach this moving forward. And we're going to see some teams that are like, oh, well, the Lions are going to be doing this the right way. And some teams who are not going to agree with our approach and think, oh, yeah, the Lions are going to be the same old thing. And ultimately, I think that it's important for us to give them the patience that they deserve, coming in fresh. They are not the same people who were here the last 5 years, and more importantly, they were not here before Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia got here. They're not Matt Millen and Martin Mayhew. They are not uh, Chuck Schmidt or Wayne Fonts or whoever it is, good or bad. There were some good people that were here before, and there were some bad people that were here before, who did things that held us back and moved us forward and kept us in neutral. And they should, and they will get their chance to prove themselves and what they want and leave their vision and their legacy on this team, using their process and their way of doing things. And ultimately, I think it's important that we recognize that this is the potential to be something great. And this has the potential to be a long lasting dynasty uh, because of the way that they can build and mesh. And we may not be the team that goes and wins 10 Super Bowls. I don't necessarily even think that that's the goal. I don't think that's realistic. I think what's realistic is being that team that competes every week, that goes every week to win the game, and competes with Green Bay, competes with Chicago, competes with Minnesota for the division title, and against other great organizations. Green Bay, for as long as Aaron Rodgers is there, certainly more likely than not beyond that, is going to be a very good team. Minnesota is going to continue to be a very good team. Uh, Maybe even beyond Mike Zimmer. And Chicago, whenever they get their quarterback room together, is going to always continue to have an identity as a tough physical football team playing in Soldier Field. And I think it's time that we embrace this new identity of being forward thinking and being innovative and being creative and being different. And we're not going to be the team that out schemes people. We're not going to be the team that is going to X and O's and mastermind their way to success. We're going to be the team that is the best at what we do, really, to put it bluntly. And that is getting the best out of our talent. And we're going to be the team that lines up against the other teams, whether it be Green Bay, Chicago, Minnesota, or another team. And we're going to be the team that outcompetes you. We're going to be the team that executes. We're going to be the team that wins, hopefully, based on our talent level, and based on our compete level, and based on our toughness, and based on our physicality, our athleticism, our talent level, in all areas, in all facets, mentally and physically. And that inspires me, that we won't necessarily need to be this flashy, exciting, fun team to watch. We're going to be a team that appeals to us in our vision, in our path forward. And it's not going to be something that everyone enjoys. We're not going to be Kansas City slinging the ball 100 times, scoring 50 points. We're going to be the team that wins. And ultimately, that's what's most important, and that's what and I think I speak for most Lions fans and say we want to see moving forward. And Baltimore is an example of that working, and the ability to mesh and collaborate, and something that I think we can all look up to as a team that that we can idolize moving forward, and how they approach things. And I expect that we'll see a lot of similarities in Detroit. So with that said, that's just some quick brief thoughts on my thoughts on Ozzie Newsome and Brett Holmes. But hopefully you guys enjoyed, and definitely feel free to hit me up on Twitter at C_Ravens, ROBBINS_, with your guys' thoughts on this team moving forward, and even of course in the YouTube comments for you guys who don't have Twitter, what you guys think about the potential for this organization as we move forward with Sheila, as we move forward with Chris Spielman, as we move forward with Brad Holmes, and as we move forward with Dan Campbell, and to a lesser extent their coordinators and their staffs into 2021. With that said, hopefully you guys enjoyed this one, and definitely hope that we all can enjoy the future of Lions football together as one pride.